Check, 1 2 3. Check, 1 2 3. I'm gonna start in 1 2 3. Yo, welcome to the Real Vibes Podcast, number 63, a long-awaited update from my regular podcast, except this one's a little bit strange. I'm coming at y'all all the way from Alameda County Jail System. And yeah, I'm down here. I'm stuck in a cell. And I decided what better way to express myself and what's going on with everything than for everyone to actually hear my voice. And I know maybe there are some people worried about me. They want to hear my voice, see if I'm doing all right. And just to let you know, I'm doing all right. And then to all the haters that dislike my voice, even better. But shout out to some of the boys that are in here with me in the Bisas crew. We got Lucci, free bands at freebands.love16, LOV16. We got Danny, aka Sweat, at Tugon510. We got Ivan, aka at Flaco.bt. We got at Not James on YouTube, at Not Hyphy. All out of Hayward. There's a lot of Hayward people in here. I never even knew Hayward was like that. I thought Hayward was whatever, but man, Hayward got some. They're down with the shits, you know what I mean? Man, I guess this will be a long podcast because I want to talk about a lot of things, but the first thing I want to do is just get into the actual incident and kind of give it an overview and zoom in and out of things that I think people should be aware of as far as it comes to the incident that I was involved in and all that led up to it and all. If you didn't, you should watch all of my previous podcasts that are based in the city of Berkeley, because those podcasts are what carry the heat that led me to this final moment. And so yeah, it's important. If you haven't checked them out, check them out first, and then you'll know why I'm here. There's articles all over the news. I'll kind of explain the incident in a sec. I do want to preface the conversation today by saying that I don't have a history of violence in Berkeley. Berkeley has a history of violence against me, and that's the reality, is that the city that acted up, and I was just exercising my rights, and I want to make that clear. So, being here in the trenches, I call it, really has allowed me to expand my perspective with higher detail, because all those people out there, they don't know what it's like to live a life like us. They just sit in their homes and they make their little posters and then go to the little protests, but they don't know nothing. But coming back to the trenches made me realize a lot of things, and it proved me right in a lot of ways about a lot of things that are going on. I'm seeing it firsthand. So I'll get into it. I'll get into it right away. First of all, I'm more than well recovered from the actual incident. And I guess I'll go right into it. But essentially, if you watched the previous podcast, you would have seen I've been to a few protests just to, kind of make my First Amendment be heard on certain political topics and stuff like this. And I made some videos that went a little bit viral. Some people loved them, some people hated them. And soon after all that content I produced, the whole entire city kind of turned on me. It was a really strange phenomenon. I mean, it went from like online vitriol and hate and threats and cyberbullying and all that stuff, that whatever you want to call stuff, which doesn't even faze me really, but it went from that to like physical, like people like watching where we live, people scratching my vehicle, you know, a lot of things happened right before, like Berkeley PD was seen outside of my place several times, like 3 times in the previous 10 days before the incident. I don't know what they were up to. They even towed my Jeep just a few days before. They towed it. So man, we were on the way out. Like day of April the 12th, me and my girlfriend were so upset by everything that was happening that we decided we were going to go to the city. We were going to go to San Francisco. So the day before, we crossed over the bridge early in the morning. I took her to her job interview. She had a new job interview in the outer Richmond, and I went to go see a broker for a commercial lease that I was looking into because we were trying to move. And you know, we ended up liking the spot. It was in the outer Richmond on Clement. It was a nice little place. It was cheap. It was a live work space, but it had actual retail front. So I would have done a lot better in my bike shop there. So I had some money saved up. We were going to lock in the deal. We told the guy, yeah, that we'll take it. You know, we went out to eat. We went back to the city. Went back to Berkeley. We hung out with a friend at the restaurant El Patio. Good friend of mine there. Hame, and then we conversed about all the recent events, and you know, and I thanked him for helping me and stuff, and then we went home. We went out for a late night. Like we went out to go see my boys from Hemorrhage, the band, play over in Oakland, and then we went to go hang out. We did karaoke. We did all this day right before this critical event. It was a good day. We got a lot of stuff done. You know, we came home hella late, like 6:00-something a.m. You know, and I don't want to get into like actual like specifics because this is an ongoing litigation, and you know, the feds are going to be listening 100%, trying to figure out which way they can get me, left or right, but they ain't going to get me for nothing. But I think it's important that I talk about this anyway. But yeah, we get home like around, you know, 6 in the morning or so, 6:00 something, and then I guess somebody saw us enter the building. Somebody must have been watching us or something, some kind of hater, because they gave a description on me, and the description was inaccurate, but accurate enough to where like someone from the internet tried to describe me, you know, and they knew which car I drove, and it was very strange that they called in like just a few minutes after like we arrived, you know, and then the cops show up around 6:50 something, 7 a.m. And they responded to what somebody was alleging in the 911 call was a domestic violence incident, which definitely didn't happen because, man, you know, my girl went right to sleep, and I was playing music, kind of just trying to wind down from a real long day, and we were just going to take a nap and chill. I was already on my way to sleeping, you know, and I was just in there chilling, and my live workshop space is huge. It was really long, so like the front door was like 200 something feet away from like the living quarters and behind the second door. So I wasn't aware of anyone being outside or anything. Usually I'm really on top of my surveillance system. I'm always looking at it, but this time I was just kind of like watching YouTube and chilling. I was trying to worry less about this whole political feud in Berkeley, and I was trying to focus more on our future and what we were going to do with it, you know? And so, yeah, at some point when I was listening to the music, I was already kind of dozing off, getting ready to go sleep. I hear some weird ass like walking on the damn roof. I was like, what the fuck? Somebody walking on the roof? Right? So the first thing I do is listen to the footsteps, and then I'm like, hey, I gotta go check the cameras. So I go to my front door, which is where my monitor is. It's like the place has no windows, so I have a camera with a monitor, and that's my window. That's how I see outside. All I got is skybox lights. So I go to front desk, and I look, and sure enough, I hear some weird ass noise by the front door. I'm like, the fuck was that noise by the front door? You know, and so I go look at the cameras, and they're busted. They don't work. So I'm like, what the fuck? The cameras are busted. I can't see who's messing with my door. And so I started thinking, man, these internet goons finally found us, you know? Like, I had no idea who was outside. So, you know, to the best of my recollection, I just remember opening the door and saying, hey, whoever it is, stop trying to come inside, you know? Like, that's going to be a mistake on your part, and for obvious reasons. And, you know, after a long, drawn-out, like, you know, at some point, I heard a familiar voice of a couple of sergeants that have been featured in some of my YouTube videos. And I was like, oh, this is Berkeley PD out there. What are they doing here, right? So then, you know, again, more negotiation. I opened the door. I was like, hey, yo, like, what are you doing here, you know? Like, this is probably an internet swatting call. I'm being swatted right now. And y'all are complicit to it. They were grinning on their faces. They were, like, more than happy to figure out where I lived and to come and try and destroy my life. They were itchy. They were trigger happy, you know what I mean? And, you know, at some point after all that, like, back and forth, I opened the door. When I say I opened the door, I mean, like, a moment of seconds. Like, the whole entire incident, I stayed indoors with the door locked. I was never visible. No one ever saw me, my face or my body or anything. I was inside the entire time. I never came out. The only warnings I gave was to them, specifically not to enter. There were no threats made. It just were statements of what would happen if they entered. And at some point, you know, I decided, well, I'm just gonna open the door and see if they'll just, like, let me come out, you know, and like, because this is going nowhere. So I opened the door. In a matter of seconds, and I mean seconds, like literally seconds of opening the door, like 1 second passed, 2 seconds passed. I was observing like where they were positioned and what they were doing, because they were not trying to. They were not like they never stopped trying to enter. They were on the roof. They were kicking the sky domes. They were trying to figure out how to get in the entire time. They had a whole SWAT team there. It was ridiculous. They had like from the beginning of the call to the end of the thing. There was the whole entire time. There was like a series level of response. Like you would think that like it was insane. Like no response was ever called like that for a DV. Like that just doesn't make no fucking sense. So these dudes were up to something weird. I mean, and it's quite obvious that they were happy to show up. But anyways, I opened the door, and in that instant where my left hand was on the doorknob, and I'm left-handed, and my right shoulder is still inside of the door frame of the building. So I only opened the door like less than 45 degrees. Like it was like, I want to say like open only maybe like 1.5 feet, 2 feet. And that's exactly when somebody let out a burst of rounds towards me. And one of them caught me. One of them hit me right in my right eye, and kind of in my temple, like skull area, and fractured my skull in several places. And the bullet ricocheted into my brain about 5 centimeters. And it destroyed my right eye. Now I can't see out of my right eye. because of this incident. But I closed the door and locked it, and that's all. And that's all I remember. Then I went down, and man, they took me to the hospital from there. And one of the weirdest things is that when they took me to the hospital, the Berkeley PD logged me in as a self-harm, self-inflicted wound, aka a suicide. They tried to say that I tried to kill myself. They didn't log it in as an officer-involved shooting. And, I mean, the only reason I can think of that they would lie on paper like that is to protect themselves and to avoid negative, every time you turn on the news and there's a police shooting and there's a person in the hospital, the news people are always outside the hospital reporting from outside, oh, officer-involved shooting, blah, blah, blah. Like, in this case, none of that happened because they said I tried to kill myself. And they were trying to avoid all the negative press. And that's just wrong. And then my family was outside the hospital. They didn't let nobody see me. And Berkeley PD was there the entire time. The same people who shot me, like quite literally the same officers in charge of the case, and people, except for maybe the shooter, but everyone else was happy to go into the hospital and do rotation 24/7 watch on me for several days. And I went down in a coma-like state, and for 3 days after they did surgery, and I wasn't waking up. But then finally, at some point, I woke up, and it took me some time to recover. I went down on the 13th. I must have woke up on like the 16th or 17th, and that was 3 days later from being down. Took me a few days to gather my senses again and be alive again. And it only took a few days for a specific detective from Berkeley PD, which I won't name at this moment, to pressure the hospital staff via email and in person to discharge me. And he just kept pressuring them to discharge me because, for whatever reason, they wanted to arraign me like immediately. For some reason, they didn't even want me to recover from a gunshot wound. They wanted me to be arraigned immediately for some reason. So I landed in the hospital. One of the lawyers met me and kind of gave me a little bit of insight on this entire thing. By the time I end up at Alameda County Jail, they literally dragged me out of the hospital in a wheelchair where I couldn't walk, and the process was like terrible. And even the doctors here at Alameda County Jail said, dude, this guy shouldn't even be here. He was on intravenous like medication. He was taking antibiotics. He was this, he was that. What's he doing here? He should go back to the hospital. They tried to send me back to the hospital like 3 times, all with no success. And the people at the hospital, at Highland Hospital, there were some real nice people there that were like really like kind of like older nurses that have been there for many years, and they felt bad for me and my family, and they were helpful in some ways. But all the UC Berkeley graduates, they knew exactly who I was, and they were throwing me to the wolves. They didn't care about me. It was one of the most incredible things I've ever witnessed, is all these people who swore an oath, police officers swearing an oath to protect, doctors swearing an oath to save lives, and all these people, because of my political views, want to see me die. Like, it's something that I know, it honestly, it just feels like racism. And I'll go into that kind of towards the end of this podcast after I kind of explain this entire incident, but for the most part, that's what happened. I woke up right around Easter time. So I went down exactly when Jesus did. Woke up right around Easter time. I got to see Easter on the TV, and then they sent me over to Alameda County. I saw myself on the news, on the TV in there as well. It was quite an experience. And I had a few court dates lined up between those days, and man, they were dragging me back and forth to the hospital to get CT scans, to here, to San Leandro, to get this, to get that, to check in with the eye doctor, to do this, to do that, to go to court, to come back from court. Like, they dragged me around everywhere so much that every time I kept getting sick and I kept getting hospitalized because my body couldn't handle it. Because it's insane that I'm recovering from a gunshot wound to the head in a jail system where they don't even give you, they literally didn't even give me antibiotics or pain meds. So this entire time I've been recovering here with no antibiotics and no pain meds. My body just straight up healed itself like Wolverine and shit. Like, that's what went down. It's really incredible, So, I guess I'll skip to the part where what's happening now, which is really strange because after all of these incidents in Alameda County Jail and now being housed in like the general population area, I passed all the mental health evaluation tests and stuff, and they got me in this main housing unit. After all of that, I had a new lawyer, got rid of the old one, so I've now seen like 3 lawyers, 4 lawyers, 2 or 3 DAs, 2 or 3 different judges. Like, this whole entire thing has been like insanely topsy-turvy and totally out of pocket. Like, it's not normal, like, legal procedure, everything they've been doing. But I'll get down to the brass tacks of like exactly what went down in my last court date, which is the most important one. But basically, everyone has a right to a speedy trial, right? And so for my preliminary hearing, I did not waive time, and if you don't waive time, they have to get it done in 10 days. So I was set to go back to court in 10 days, and those 10 days ran out on May the 23rd. And so my lawyer said, I'm not going to be ready, so, and I was not happy with her performance either as far as the bail motion goes, because she was not successful at getting me, because these people are holding me here with no bail, which is also very strange. What they've gone to see me go down is craziness, like unprecedented stuff, like no bail, like totally just remove the ability for bail, just craziness. But at this last court date, I figured, hey, well, they ran out of time and they can't violate my rights, so it's got to go down. But they were so careful. Like, the DA was so careful. He was like not trying to say that it was an officer involved shooting, because for all the court dates that I've gone to, like, they're quite literally reporting on it. There's reporters in the crowd drawing and making notes and shit, and so I think the words that the judge used was like exposure. What is the exposure level of this case, is what he asked the DA, and the DA said it's very high. And so they were very careful not to use certain language about it being a Berkeley, an officer-involved shooting, right? And the judge, my lawyer was trying to, instead of trying to do the prelim, she just continued to file motions to withdraw, which is ridiculous. She's like the worst lawyer I've ever seen. And so this lady, Jyoti Recchi, or whatever her name, Jyoti Recchi, she was bunk. She was like one of the worst lawyers ever. And she didn't support or defend me in my rights to 10 days to preliminary. And the DA communicated with her that he wasn't going to be ready for 10 days to prelim, and the public defender's office told the judge, we're not going to be ready. So nobody was ready. So instead of, exercising my rights as a U.S. citizen, the judge took one look at me and decided, oh, we're going to send him to the crazy house. So she said that I need a mental health evaluation because me not waiving time, which is my right, me doing that was irrational. Because, and I quote her, I was shooting myself in the foot when I decided not to waive that right. But the reality is that Berkeley PD shot me in the head with a rifle. That's really what happened, and they just don't want to say it. So the judge granted my lawyer's motion to withdraw, and so then I find myself precisely at a moment where I have no legal representation. And precisely at that moment, she decided that she's going to withdraw me from the criminal justice system and send me over to Napa State Hospital, a place where they can do a mental health eval. And so I was like, wow, like they just violated my rights. And so, of course, I have some moves ready to go to defend myself in the situation, and now I have a new lawyer, and there are certain motions that I plan to file, and certain, I prepare myself like, yo, I'm a hood lawyer, man. I give people advice in here to get them off cases. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I know how to defend myself. I know my rights. I know that's like a cliche thing to say, but like, it's ridiculous for them to consider my mental health evaluation at that precise last second moment and never consider it for anything else, like my bail or anything. Like, I was wheelchaired into the damn courthouse many times where I barely looked like I was even alive, and they didn't consider my mental health then. They didn't consider my mental health at all for anything up until the last moment where it was crucial for them. And, Berkeley Scanner put out an article based on my court hearing where she calls it, she says, the headline reads something like, judge orders mental health evaluation to avoid, quote unquote, fiasco. That's the headline. And yeah, they definitely did try to do that, and they definitely did violate my rights in the process. So man, be ready, y'all, because I'm gonna be out. I might be out soon, just based on those what are called not exculpatory evidence, but the second one. What's the word? But basically, it means that for technical reasons, like my rights have been violated, and I shouldn't be here no more. So that all in all sums up like everything that kind of happened to me as far as like legality of stuff and all that, the fiasco at court, everyone writing hella articles on this whole incident from beginning to end, and it being like somehow localized, like somehow they managed to localize the news. Like I saw myself on like the Bay Area news like a few times on TV, but somehow they figured out how to localize this to keep it from blowing up out of proportion, because it's really something else what they've done, and what I've gone through is insane, and the fact that I survived it and I'm here talking to y'all is crazy. But it is what it is, and I'm not even ugly looking. I know a lot of people are like concerned that maybe I look hella ugly or something, maybe my face is all busted or something, but no, like I still have my eye, it just doesn't function. Yeah, it looks a little lazy, and yeah, I have another scar on my head, but like, man, I already got a bunch of scars on my head, so I ain't even tripping. Like, I'm happy to be alive, that's all. And it's stuff like this, man, it's just something else. And keep in mind, Berkeley PD is definitely under internal affairs investigation over this incident, and some of the officers are on administrative leave, which means it's costing the city. I mean, the city already spent hella money on watching me at the hospital on overtime and all that, and now they're spending money on on administrative leave, and who knows how the internal affairs investigation is going to go. But without getting too much into details, let me just say this. One, they got nothing on me, and two, all the stuff that they put out is heavily edited. They hired a company to look at the videos and chop them up for release, but they call it unedited. Like, how is it unedited if you hired a company to edit them? And the biggest one, the weirdest one yet, is that for whatever reason, at the precise moment that they fired at me and shot me, at that precise moment, for whatever reason, all of their body cams inadvertently shut off. And even the building's surveillance system inadvertently shut off and wasn't recording at that specific moment, but was recording the rest of the entire incident, just not that moment. Like, the level of, like, no fucks given by Berkeley PD's dirty-ass little grubby little hands is crazy to me. It's really crazy now with all these officers on administrative leave and internal affairs to these guys. If I were them, man, look, the further you push me into the hole, like, you already tried to kill me, what makes you think that I'm not going to resist? I'm going to defend myself. You know what I mean? Like, I've been quiet this entire time on purpose because I want them to see what it's like for someone to stay quiet. Because just as a hypothetical, imagine, imagine lawsuits and what they could look like. Imagine suing Highland Hospital. Imagine suing WellPath, which is the medical provider at Alameda County Jail. Imagine suing Alameda County Jail. Imagine suing Berkeley PD. Imagine suing on behalf of third parties that are affected for punitive, compensatory damages, defamation by local Berkeley press. Imagine suing all of them. Imagine the public spectacle from that many other cases. Imagine the public spectacle when this actual trial, which I don't know, damn bench trial, I'm going straight to jury trial. Like, imagine all that. This is an extension to the feds if they're listening. If you want me to be quiet and you really want us to give me an NDA for a settlement, and you drop all charges, and it goes away just like that, it go away. And that's my olive branch. That's as far as negotiation I'm willing to do. But people are looking at heavy repercussions for what you. It's not just me on trial. It's y'all on trial too. It's the entire city of Berkeley on trial, justifying up against justices and for trying to exercise his First Amendment. This is really like, it's really something else. And let's not forget about the third parties that are affected. My girlfriend, who's probably suffering at this right now from having gone through traumatic incidents, for which she statements support my case and make Berkeley bad, but I'm not into them because for privacy matters and all that, and ongoing. But all this happened to me, man, because I'm living something different now. It's like I'm living two stories at the same time. I guess I mean, if you think about it, perspective, it has a price. I think I had a nuanced perspective on certain things. If you do that, it means that you're alone. You don't belong to a tribe. There's supporters rescue here at Alameda County Jail to support, or even online, or even to help me. Trump supporters coming to my rescue. There are no white knights defend me because I'm a person that was shot in the city of Berkeley while on Lives Matter head ass motherfuckers. Why aren't they coming to defend me? Why are they happy to come? If they cared so much about race, they wouldn't do that. For crying out loud, they shot me in the most woke city in all of the United States, the most concentrated city with woke liberals. It's next to the university. No, none of those people came to defend me. So it starts to really feel familiar. And one of the reasons it feels familiar is because I feel like the truth is that racism, old school racism, is definitely alive and well in a particular and that group of people is definitely really old white people. And it doesn't matter on what side of the spectrum they're on. They can be progressive, conservative, on either side of the spectrum. You could be in the city of Berkeley, and those same people would be outside with banners that say, all cops are bastards, and defund the police, and Black Lives Matter, and all of that. And into that person's neighborhood, let's still call it. If you walk into the wrong neighborhood in Berkeley, those people still call the cops on you. So the hypocrisy in them is like next level. And all you have to do to go see it for yourself is where they go. And those are line pockets of identity. One of those pockets just happens to be the app called Nextdoor. If you want to see it for yourself, just log into create a Nextdoor account and you can see everything people. They are literally off the rocker, insane racist. It's really something else. One of the things that struck me early on going into this is that the people in Berkeley prefer the diversity of skin color over the diversity of thought. So they prefer that the people running for are women. They prefer that the people running. They prefer that they give diversity, and they call it intersectionalism, and they have all these different fancy words for it. When you are measuring people by the color of their skin instead of the content of their character, you are racist. That is racist. So I've been witnessing racism every time they use skin color preferences over thought. And they don't want diversity of thought because if that were true, the only Trump supporter in the whole city wouldn't have gotten crucified the way I did. And so diversity of thought is out the window. And if you want to think that these people are peaceful, that's out the window too. That's definitely out the window. And I'll follow up on that in just a second, because there are other new instances occurring that are very familiar. But I feel like another thing that I feel is like, man, it's like two movies in one, two stories at once. Like, I'm living the story of Romeo and Juliet, because by having a white girlfriend, both sides hate me for it. Like, the white people hate me for dating a white girl, and they're like, ooh, like they pretend that they love brown people and this and that, but as soon as you date one of their daughters like this, they start like, why? You can find someone better, And people look at us like wrong for that, And then at the same time, Mexican people look at me the same way. Like, oh, what? You think you're too good for your own race? Why you gotta go date a white girl? And blah 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 blah. And like the animosity comes from both sides, literally like the story of Romeo and Juliet. Like, but instead of, like it could be based on skin color, it could be based on whether you're a conservative or a liberal, it could be based on anything. But I mean, I was living through that story. And at the same time, somehow I fell into the story of Jesus, and that's a weird one too, because I mean, Jesus was 33 when he was crucified, and Jesus, what got him into trouble? If you really think about it, like simple terms, without getting like religious. Like, Jesus rolled up into a city that wasn't his, and he started pointing out hypocrisies and things that there's a secret sect of Jews called the Philistines, who had covert control of government and can make suggestions to Roman officials, those kind of Jews. He rolled up into their hood, and he was like, hey, like, stoning prostitutes, that's whack. Like, why are you throwing stones at her when y'all are the one that are buying her? And he was like, hey, like, selling stuff out of the temple, that's whack. Why are you selling stuff out of the house of the Lord? Y'all are retarded. And like Jesus, he just kept talking too much, and he just kept saying too many things that were too real, until this secret cabal decided, you know what? I think we're going to have to smoke this dude. And sure enough, they dragged him out in the middle of the night, and they ran him through the legal system, literally ran him through the legal system of the Roman Empire. And now they put up two guys. They put up Barnabas and they put up Jesus. And they asked the people, which one do you want to see free? Jesus, the guy who did nothing except for help people with miracles and try and speak the truth, or Barnabas, a known pedophile, evil, rapist, murderer? And the people voted for the murderer over Jesus. And I'm sitting in Alameda County Jail, and do you want to know how many murderers and rapists and pedophiles I've seen get out? A lot. Let me just say a lot. Just today, I saw a story on the paper about a man who human trafficked a 14-year-old girl in Oakland on the Blade on International Boulevard. And this dude, they let him go. And he gets caught in Berkeley with a gun beating up on another underage girl, trying to force her into sex work. And he catches his case, and now he served his time, and then he's out. Like, he didn't even do no time at all. Like what world do we live in, man? Like, that's a Barnabas. Like, I'm sitting here in the house full of Barnabases, and I'm watching all Jesus is going down. That's how it's going to go from now on here in the Philistines, because that's where we're at. The East Bay is the Philistines. But think about it. Like, I'm living these two realities, I happen to be 33, just like Jesus. Jesus was betrayed by his followers. Some certain people, turned him in, denied that they even knew him, and that happened to me many times. But I guess one of the differences between me and Jesus is that, Jesus resurrected after 3 days, and then he went back to heaven. He just rose up and gone. But I had a torturous recovery, and I'm still in the trenches. So maybe I got a different mission, or maybe I didn't give up that easy. And now, sometimes I feel more like Blade, where he's like a day walker, where like he knows where the vampires live. He knows what they do. He knows where they hang out. He knows what raves they go to. He knows everything about the vampires, and he walks around with the sword of truth, Xing them out. So maybe I feel more like Blade. Or maybe I feel more like Spawn, because I'm still in the trenches, and maybe I have a different mission, or I don't know, man. This is just like internal thoughts coming at you from the. But it's so many weird coincidences. Like I don't eat pork. Everybody knows I don't eat pork. I've been here more than 60 days now, going on like 70 something days, and I still haven't been given a special diet, a kosher diet, so I don't have to eat pork. I just have to give away my meals. So for 40 days, I didn't have no commissary. And for 40 days and 40 nights, what a coincidence, right? I mean, Jesus, the devil, the devil tried to get Jesus in the wilderness, in the darkness. And right now, I'm in the wilderness, in the darkest type of wilderness. Except the devil can't come for me. I'm gonna make the devil my bitch. That's what's really gonna happen. I learned a lot of stuff being here like this, like a lot of weird coincidences like this. Once people have a lot of time to think when they're confined to a space, and you start to kind of just make connections. Like Alameda County Jail accidentally overdosed me on certain medications because they were too lazy to follow up on the meds regimen, and I learned from that experience that without pain, there's no memory, and without memory, there is no pain or feeling, I should say. And that's a saying that came to me because I noticed that some memories are connected to feelings, and I have a better understanding as to why people want to forget about stuff, but I'm not one of those people. I need to remember everything because everything's a lesson, and I'm not trying to forget no lessons. So that other things that I learned here, and then recently, man, like just turning on the news, it's even crazier to see that this thing that happened to me, it's not just happening to me, but it's like all over the place. Like politically, like quite literally, the same people who organized the protests that I went to, the No Kings people, the Indivisible NGO, and the Mobilize.us, these dudes, they found a who went to in Minnesota, went to the home of two representatives and shot them all. He shot 4 people. Passed away. 2 of them are in critical condition, and in his car, a flyer for the No Kings protest. And man, they somehow made that go away from the news hella quick. And it's weird, Indivisible, it should be renamed Invisible. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to invisible hand this entire thing. It's really strange. I mean, they spent $2.1 billion making all these protests recently on the ICE immigration protests and this and that. The news is all that. And another thing, there was a random civilian at another No Kings protest. I think it was in Texas. I can't remember at this moment, but one of the dudes working for Indivisible, he shot a man and accidentally killed a bystander protester, and make it on the news too. Like it was like in the blink of an eye, you post, and now you don't see it. It's really like witness political. Like one of the crazy things is coming in here and witness the effects of things that progresses that improve, like it's from the inside. Like I'm watching the criminal in the prison system afraid of deportation. We're talking criminals who rob, breaking and entering, stealing catalytic converters. We're talking you know, high-speed chases, we're talking drugs, we're talking like all the stuff that you hear about. I'm witnessing it directly, right in front of my face. All these people being afraid of deportation, you know, drugs rampant, you know, and everyone's just getting off of all the cases unless you're a citizen. If you're a citizen, then they're gonna hold you for sure, which is ridiculous, you know. And it's effective in my opinion. Like just recently, Iran destroyed their nuclear facilities. The news went with it one way, but this new perspective is what I said. Like I had a nuanced perspective, thought bubble. The same thing to the president because he bombs Iran and he makes the Iranians happy because they've been wanting a regime change for a while. But the news makes it look like Trump is joining Israel and that's a bad thing. And a lot of conservatives got upset at Trump when he did that, when he bombed Iran, and what the news said was him joining Israel in the fight, which, in my opinion, was more like he's taking out Israel's power away from them by doing the work for them, and then soon enough he's gonna you know, put them on a leash too. And I was right. My prediction was right because right after that, he's one of the first presidents ever to say maybe Israel needs a regime change. Maybe they need to be put on a leash. Maybe they need to follow the ceasefire too. Maybe they shouldn't break it. And once he said that, man, that's a target on his head. The last president who said something like that was JFK. He's dead. So just think about that. That's what having a nuanced perspective will do to you. It will give you no support from either side. We're not trying to do camps of thought anymore. We're trying to do nuanced perspective. We want the truth. We want common sense to thrive. But some people don't want that. It's really strange. Another realization I made is that, just think about this for a second. This is a crazy thought. But how is Berkeley, predominantly a city full of white people, more dangerous than a room full of paisas that are afraid of deportation for crimes that they committed? And they know full and well that I'm a Trump supporter. And I'm in a vulnerable physical state where if somebody hits me even just once, I could die. And how is it that how does I feel safer here than in Berkeley? What kind of insanity is that? Like, that's how disconnected these white people are from reality, that they don't fucking understand what it means to be, you know, a brown person. They really don't know. And that's crazy to me, just thinking about that. And that's what makes me believe that truly the spirit of racism lives inside of old-ass white people. No matter if they're red or blue, or tiki torch white, or UC Berkeley alumni. It lives inside of them still. And they defend things like pedophilia and incest and all this stuff. And they give those guys 30 days. And a pimp gets off for trafficking a 14-year-old girl. And he only gets a few months and he'll be out soon. To the East Bay, y'all, a.k.a. the Phillistines. That's where I'm from today. This was an interesting podcast. I hope you guys are happy to hear my voice. I think I have very good mindset on what's going to go down, and I'm sure I'll be free soon. So, you know, keep me in your prayers if you want me out. And to all the haters, you're not going to get what you want. I'm sorry to tell you, you're not going to get what you want. You know, and I'm going to tie up all the loose ends, and I'm going to get back on track. So, hey, man, I appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this gives y'all some comfort if you guys care about me. Yeah, stay tuned. I got more content coming out soon. Shout out to everybody who actually helped me. I appreciate y'all. Big time. For real, for real. Peace out.